Torah tells us, what is the purpose of marriage? What is this whole business of marriage? The whole business of marriage is to bring a generation into the world. The business of marriage is to see to it, to give perpetuity to Klal Yisrael. To see to it that there should be the continuous going on from generation to generation till the end of all time. And to bring down the neshamas upon this world who will continue to do what has to be done for Hashem Yisborach and for Klal Yisrael. They have a mission to accomplish. When the neshama comes down on this earth, and that neshama is here for a certain amount of years, it's there for a purpose, and they have their job that they have to accomplish. But in order for that to come down, in order for the neshama to come down, there has to be a husband and a wife together. And if, God forbid, they are not together, if Cholila v'chas, it's two worlds, then starts all the problems. And then you find that that's the basis for all the tzoros. You know, I always use this cliche. I tell about the time when I went out with my wife. We were courting. I had to date my wife. So, one time we went out, twice, 3 times. Came a point, we were forming kids. We weren't going to just schlep around. So I say to my wife, I says, Chav, I want you to know that if you marry me, you should know that I am the head of the house. Because the Hechts, they are pretty independent guys. And we guys in our family, we are fellows who are pretty independent. And you should know beforehand that I'm going to be the head of the house. And if I'm the head of the house, if you could live with it, then we can get married. And if not, I'm telling you right now, you're better off if we break off right now. So she thinks for a moment and says to me, I'll tell you, I'm going to marry you anyway. I said, you're going to marry anyway? Why are you going to marry me? He says, I'll tell you why. He says, you're going to be the head of the house, that's for sure. But I'm going to be the neck, and wherever the neck turns, the head goes. She was a smart lady. And she works it that way today, too, you should know. So this is what it's all about. You got to give them something. It's not a one-sided business. This is not a one-way street. Now, you ask yourself, when do you know that you are in love? Right? It's a good question. How do you know this? I'll never forget, I used to sit in 770 as a bocher. We sat at the table, we had about 10, this was the early days, we're going back now, when the Rebbe came to America first. Sitting in the Best Medrash, and I'm talking to the guys of my age, how old was I then, 18, 19, whatever it was. I'm talking to the guys, and I say, hey fellas, how do you know when you're supposed to get married? How do you know this? So, I'll never forget what the fellow says to me, Yankel, you'll know already. I said, how will I know? He said, I'm telling you, you'll know. There used to be a Chidduch, used to be 3 times a week by the other Rebbe, upstairs. And downstairs they used to write the Kvitlach, where Rabbi Chodakov sits now. And the Rabbi Simpson Olav Hashem used to be the one who used to write the Kvitlach, but he was sick. So El Yenochem Sklar was the one who wrote the Kvitlach. So a man comes, and he asks for a bracha, for a Shidduch, for his daughter. So he wrote the kvittel, and the fellow went up to the Rebbe to get them to go into the Rebbe and give the bracha. So he calls me over, he says, Yankel, I have you a shidduch. A Jew just came over here, he wants a shidduch for his daughter. Maybe it's for you. I says, I don't know. Anyway, the guy comes down from the Rebbe, yeah, got a bracha, very nice. Rabbi Sklar says to him, you know, I think I got a bracha for you, I got a chosem for you. Already he had the bracha. He comes down, he introduces me, the man gives me the address. I'll never forget, there was Fulton Avenue in the Bronx. Where that is today, I don't even know. Fulton Avenue in the Bronx. I call up the girl. No. I talk to her, I go out with her. I come home, my father is waiting up. He says to me, who, Yankel? What do you say? I says, Pa, I'll tell you, I don't know. It's a Yiddish tochter. What should I say something better on the Jewish daughter? She's a nice girl. I suppose she's all right. Later I find out like this, that she was older than me. Later I find out she was a real kachala. I was lucky I only went twice. I always used to pray that I always used to pray in the yeshiva that when I have to do a shidduch, God should help me. The first one that I meet, that should be my mate. I don't want to go out with 100 girls and then later have to get my sugar to make not to know what to make my mind up. So thank God my second one that I went out with was my wife, Baruch Hashem. But you got to be lucky for that too, you know. It doesn't go so easy. But the idea is that there comes a time when you know that you are in love. How do you know you're in love? You go out, and after you go out, a day or two goes by, and you think about the thing, and you would like to be with the person again. You would like to go back again and talk to her again and be with her again. So you call her up a second time for another date. And you feel there's something that's tugging at the heart. You feel that there's something more than just plain episode, you know, that you went and you came and it's immaterial to you, where you know how it works. If you say, yeah, with you, not with you. No, but each time you feel a little bit more. You begin to realize and understand that maybe this is the one really that you want. And this is the one that and you continue until you reach a point when you feel, look, I see nothing wrong. And if this is the case, then maybe this is the one that I really want. Now, how do you know if it's the right one? This is a very serious problem. How do you know if it's the right one? The answer is you don't know. You never know. I'm telling you right now, you're never going to know. You could only do as much as a human being could do. You only could know as much as a human being could know. And the point is, Teres gave you a certain guideline, that a woman has to be Eza Kenegdoi. What does that mean? The woman has to be either one of two things. If you're doing the right thing, she should be an Eza. She should help you. If you're doing the wrong thing, she should be strong enough to be against you, to straighten you out and not let you do things that are wrong. And if you feel that you found a young lady who has these two beautiful virtues or qualities, that she will be the one that if you have to go through in life something, she will help you carry that project through. She will be an Eza to you. She will help you. She will give you the encouragement that you need. She'll give you the inspiration that you need. She'll give you that uplift that you need. You come home and you're down and out because something happened in the office or in business that made you feel so sick. And she sits down and talks to you. Don't worry about it. God will help you. And she gives you a good meal and sits down and talks and uplifts your spirit and says, well, how can we help and what could we do to straighten this thing out? Maybe we ought to do it this way. Maybe we ought to... It gives an opportunity for a man to talk his heart out. It gives an opportunity for a man to relieve the tensions and the pressures that he has on his chest that are killing him. And it's going crazy in his head because he has no way. He has nobody with whom he can discuss this feeling that this is a true friend. And one who will understand him and will have the feeling for him that he needs in order to give him that kind of a push and uplift that the guy needs. And if, God forbid, this guy is a guy that's doing the wrong thing, if he's drinking or he's on drugs, chalila, if he's unfaithful, chas v'shalom, or something of this, she has to be the kind of a woman who has the guts and the strength and the stamina and the courage and the spunk to stand up to him and say, now listen, you're doing something wrong, and I'm not going to stand for this. Either you're going to shape up or you're going to ship out. This kind of a husband I didn't pick. And if you think you're going to keep going to the racehorses, or you're going to keep going to Atlantic City, or you're going to keep on drinking, or you're going to keep on doing some other miserable things in life, I'm telling you right now that just forget about it. And I want you to know that I have situations on hand at this very moment, as I stand and talk to you in my office, where there is a separation of mothers, wives, and children from the husbands. And they are justified in what they have done. There was no way in the world that they could put up any more with what they put up. Okay? There are situations where women go wacky, crazy, literally crazy, and decide all of a sudden after a number of years with a couple of kids in a house, he's no more good for her. But you were in love. You lived such a beautiful life. The man worked like a horse for you. He gave you everything you wanted in life. What happened? In this situation is a friend made her crazy. Made her crazy. Kept talking to her. She talked into her such things that made her nuts. And she threw on this husband a certain dislike for no good reason in the world. And it's the most crying shame that you could ever find. It's the most heartbreaking situation. Who are the victims? The kids. The kids are the victims. These are two old, mature people. Whatever will be with them will be with them. But never the poor little kids. Why should they never suffer? Why should they never have to go through this? I had a woman in my office today whose husband is on drugs. And when she married him, they warned her that this guy is on drugs. And she felt that she'll break him out of it, a rich woman. And she didn't break him out of it. And now there's a question, there's a little kid of 5.5 years old. And she sits and cries because of the kid. And of course this guy went off somewhere, they put him in a treatment center. And he came home and he wants to come back in, and the question was, should she take him back or shouldn't she take him back? And it's a whole bit, what was she crying about? She said, I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not worried. But what am I going to do? This little kid of mine needs a father. This little kid of mine keeps talking to me about her daddy. And I haven't got a daddy for her. Her daddy is no good. Her daddy is a drug addict. What should I do? So there has to be the connect. When we were trying to talk to her, this woman, she should have the strength and the courage to tell Ad Khan, this is it. You have to get divorced and you have to start life anew. This is a young woman who could start life anew. But this is what life could bring with it. So you never know. When you start out in life, you think everything is hunky-dory. When you start out in life, everything is beautiful. It's kuchkala muchkala. Everybody loves each other. It's so wonderful. And all of a sudden, everything turns sour. And you don't know where it comes from and where it turns out to be this bitter pill that you have to swallow. The one very important thing that I want to tell you is that when Torah tells us that Al Ken Yazav Ish Esav Vesimai, V'davak Be'ishtay V'hoyu Lavosar Echad. Why did the Torah have to say Al Ken Yazav Ish Esav Vesimai? Why did it have to say that? I mean, don't we understand that if he's going to go to live with a wife, that he's going to leave his father and mother? Isn't that so? Why does it have to say Al Ken Yazav Ish Esav Vesimai? The answer is that there are certain people who make two serious mistakes in life. One is the fact that they want to formulate their life after their mother or father. You shouldn't look for a woman who is in your mother's image. You have to look for a woman who is in her own image. And if in her own image you will love her and be attracted to her, okay. The second thing that they do, they take their father and mother along with them. What does that mean? That they are married, but they are not married. They are married, but they took along her father. She took along her father, he took along his father, and it becomes a whole chalaster over there, a whole geschäft. That's a regular army. What is this? The mother-in-law mixes in, and the mother mixes in, and the son, the father, to my son. What are you doing to my son? What's your business, mister? What's your business? He was old enough to get married. Stick your nose out of the business. You got married. Lig over there where you're laying, over there with your wife, and stop bothering other people. What are you bothering him? What do you come tell him what to do? What do you got to tell him what to do? I got to tell you from my own personal experience here. When I got married, it was just after the war, 1946. I got married, and 45, 46, and at that time it was hard to get an apartment. And my father-in-law, God bless him, had a little house in East New York, and he had a tenant, and the tenant moved out. He made him move out. He asked him to move because he wanted to give his children an apartment. And of course the rent was right. I don't have to tell you. My father-in-law, I paid him as much as you're paying me now. So that was it. So I figured, so I'm getting right away a good start, right? Okay. So we started out. And my wife, being the black apple of my father-in-law, and she was the beloved oldest child in the family, so my mother-in-law of blessed memory had a habit of coming into the house. We lived in the same building. Coming to the house and telling my wife what to do. Feeling she's a young newlywed, she doesn't know yet what to do exactly, so she was telling him constant advice. At one point, she sees that my wife is doing just the opposite that her mother told her. Just the opposite. So her mother became very enraged. What do you mean? How could this be? So my wife said to her the following. She said, listen, Ma, I want to tell you something. When I married Yankel, I realized that we're two different people. Now, I have my way of life, he has his way of life. And I saw that in order for us to make this marriage go, he's going to have to either come over to my way, or I'm going to have to go over to his way. And if you know Yankel, you know he's never going to come over to my way. So I went over to his way, and from now on, don't tell me anything more what to do. So that was the first break that we had, and that was the first lucky moment I had for my marriage to last, thank God, till 120 years. I didn't have schwiegeritis, what you call. That's a certain krank, that's a malady called schwiegeritis, which it's the mother-in-law-itis, you call that. That's the kind of an incurable disease. The only way you can get rid of it is when she dies. Other than that, there's no way of getting rid of her. So this, thank God, ended right away at the beginning of our marriage, and this is the way the life went. We did whatever we had to do together, and if we made mistakes, we made the mistakes together, and if we did the right thing, we complimented each other, and if one did something wrong and the other one saw that it was wrong, so we pointed it out to the individual so that the individual shouldn't make that mistake again, and we tried to learn from our mistakes. But the idea was that we pulled in the same direction, and we both understood and realized exactly what was before us and what we had to do. So this business of looking for a mother image, forget that. Forget it. Mothers have one image and wives have another image. It's two different worlds and two different situations, and the whole concept is kakai. It doesn't belong there. You have to be independent and mature to lead your own life. I don't say Khalil v'chas to be disrespectful to parents. God forbid. You should love your parents and your in-laws and respect them and be nice to them and give them kavod. But what has to do with your life between you and your wife and your family, this is your business. And if they see something they want to tell you, listen to them. And if it's good, accept it. If it's no good, say thank you very much, and you do what you want to do anyway. You don't do what they tell you because you know that they don't know what they're talking about. They feel the good when they tell it to you. Gesinnt to hate, as long as they enjoy it. But the idea is that it has to be an individuality, an independence of a husband and wife. And this is the way you build your life together. And this is the way you set your goals in life together. This is the way parents had different goals. When they, maybe 50 years or 100 years ago, when they got married, it was different. Today we have different goals. The world is different. I mean, if any of these people, if my parents woke up today and took a look at the world today, I think they'd die right away, because they wouldn't understand how you can live in this world from the world that they lived in. It's a whole different approach to life. Everything is totally different. The needs are different. The demands are different. The respectability is different. The whole situation is different. The whole concept of marriage is different. The whole concept of marriage is different. Marriage in the Hebrew language is Kiddushin. Kiddushin. Why is it called Kiddushin? Hareyat mukudeshesli. Doesn't say Hareyat nisuali. It says Hareyat mukudeshesli. You are sanctified unto me. Just like something which is holy, something which is precious. There's a metamorphosis that takes place in a boy and a girl from the time that they date to the time they put the ring on and say Hareyat mukudeshesli. What is the metamorphosis? When they're dating, they are always on their best. It's a funny thing. You can't find anything wrong with them. She's beautiful. She's always she always is kind. She talks softly and beautifully. She always acts very graciously. Everything. And the same thing with the guy. He's always on his best. Acting all the way. Both of them are doing an act to see which one could swap the other guy, to schlep him the other guy quicker. You understand? To make the other one fall for them. This is what the whole business, it's a game. It's a challenge, you know. It's me against you. We'll see who'll make room to bow to the other one first. And yet they're always on their best, no matter how long, or how many times they go out, or how many times they meet. It's always so beautiful, so wonderful, so darling. The minute the guy puts the ring on the finger, everything is different. He caught it. You see, the bait worked. He got the fish. She's no more challenge. Oh, no more challenge. Now he's Balabas. He's sitting on the horse already. Now he's already a Kanaka. Now he begins to reveal his inner operations and what he really is. That's why if anybody is going to tell you that you can tell what a woman is when you go out dating, forget it. Forget it. You're not going to know. You can't know. In 99 out of 100 cases, you're not going to know. Okay? And unless you're lucky that somebody will tip you off and tell you, you should know that this girl is this and this, and you look for it and you start detecting it, other than that, you'll never know. You'll absolutely never know. And if you're never going to know, once they put that ring on, it becomes a whole different business. This metamorphosis I've seen by people who become rich. You hear this? It's an interesting thing. A guy who is a poor man and has nothing, he's the most wonderful individual in the world. He's kind. He's a man of Rachmanis. He's a man of Chesed. He's an individual who'll go to the end of the world to help you. He'll do anything and everything for you. He's always there giving of himself. As soon as he makes money and becomes rich, all of a sudden he becomes a different personality. He changes. All of a sudden he becomes a very smart man. You come to him for tzedakah, he gives you an advice. He gives you an answer what to do. Mister, I didn't come for advice. I got a Rebbe for advice. I came to you for money. You know what they say that Rabbi Moshe Sasava, there was a big tzaddik. Rabbi Moshe Sasava, one of the Galician Rebbes, the Hasidic Rebbes. So he said he wishes himself that he should be an Apokris. So the Chassidim said, Rebbe, an Apokris? He says, yeah, an Apokris. Rebbe, what's that here? He said, I'll tell you. When a Jew comes to me and tells me he's in trouble and he needs help, I shouldn't say to him, God verhelpen. Then I should be an Apokris. I should help him. I shouldn't wait for God to help him. If someone comes to you and needs help, you say, well, I can't help you. Thank you. Go got to help him. Got to help him. What do you mean got to help him? Got to help him. That's not your business. That's my business. I pray to Hashem Yisroel and say, tell him that you should help me. But I came to you for your help. You're sending me to God? He should help me. Well, who needs you to God? I get to God myself. He's my father like yours. This is what happens, this metamorphosis that takes place in the life of a person when he becomes from poor to rich. And I want you not to laugh at this. You watch it, and if you know anybody who was at some time poor, and then by some miracle became rich, either he worked himself up in business, or he won the lottery, or he hit the jackpot, I don't know what it is, and he became rich, you just watch how that personality changed. You just watch how differently he speaks already, and how he's not ready to do a thing for you. And this is what happens also, you should know. This is what happens when the guy puts the ring on the finger. Once he caught the lady that he was after all this time, once he knows that he got her, she's his now, it becomes a different world, unless he is stuck at what he purported to be throughout the time of their courtship.